This will be the video for lesson 10.11, decimal fractions, adjusting the dividend and divisor. Now, I'll be honest, the entire module of Module 10 seems to be to provide you with as many different strategies to multiply and divide decimal fractions as possible. And so if one form of one idea doesn't work, hopefully another one of these strategies will work for you. So there's a lot of different ways we can do this. And this is just kind of a little bit of a warm-up where we can go through here and we can look at these things. So look at this, what we have here. We have just a division problem where we have 60 divided by 20. I'm going to just leave that one right there for just a second because I don't necessarily like to divide numbers by 20s. But look at this one. 6 divided by 2. Well, I know what that is. That's 3. Well, maybe from there I can put all of these things in perspective. So this is saying how many groups of 2 are there in 6? Well, okay. Well, now let me look at this one. How many groups of 20 are in 60? Well, there are 3. 20, 40, 60. How many groups of 2/10 are there in 6/10? Again, 3, and you see the pattern. 3. 3 200ths are in 600ths. I could also go backwards and prove that these answers are correct by multiplying the number 3 times 2/10 or 200ths in this case, and end up with 600ths. So that kind of should help frame what we're going to be working on here today. 5 divided by 1 is 5. Well, how many groups of 10 are in 50? There are 5. How many groups of 1/10 are there in 5/10? There are 5. And by the way, this is one of those times where I might turn this into something like this, where I can consider how many dimes are there in 50 cents and how many pennies are there in 5 cents. Hopefully you saw what I was doing there. And you can put your own numbers in each one of these places where we're doing the same thing. We're going to take we'll just fit in any of them where we're going to divide number 10th time divided by another 10th and show our answer. So let's do them though based on something fairly reasonable. We're just going to put the number 3 in here. Decimal 3. So we've got 3/10. 3/10 divided by 1/10. Well, 3/10 divided by 1/10. That's saying how many groups of 1/10 are there in 3/10? There would be 3. I could write 0 and 3/100 divided by 0 and 1/100, and I'm going to end up with 3. And in here, I might put 3 divided by 1 or 30 divided by 10. Now, this is all to show you a strategy that we're going to apply in our lesson today. So what are we really doing here? Let's look at this number. We've got a whole number divided by a decimal fraction. We've got 6 divided by 3/10. We could be asking ourselves how many groups of 3/10 are in 6. We could get our model out of a block of 100 and count out how many 3/10 there are in 1 and then multiply that times 6 to find that answer. We could also do this. We could take this number times 10 and this number times 10. Because if you remember, if we look back, that's all we did here. We had this number, we took it times 10 to help us out just a little bit. So 10 times 3/10 gives me 3 whole. And 10 times 6 is 60. Well, this is a little bit easier now. I've got a whole number divided into a whole number. All I did was make this into a whole number, which I do think helps. So the number 3 goes into 60. In this case, I might want to, just because of how big this is, I may want to do it this way where I divide it out my long division way. 3 can't go into 20, or 3 goes into 20. There it should be a 6. 3 goes into 60 2 full times. There's no remainder. We've got a 0 there, so we put a 0 here. So our answer, believe it or not, of how many 3/10 there are in 6, there are 20 in there. So this shows that step that I just did, and I'm showing you this because this is all over pages 388 and 389, where we took 6 times 10 to get 60, and 3/10 times 10 to get the number 3. Visually, you'll need to be able to apply this to the math problems on those pages. Let's do one more that looks just like that. I'm going to look at the part that's my decimal fraction. I've got 500ths here. How do I make this, turn this into a whole number? Well, they're in hundredths, so all I have to do is take this number times 100, and I end up with the number 5. 500ths times 100 gives me 5. But if I do that on this side, I have to do it over here too. So 4 times 100 is 400. And now I'm left with, and I'm going to do that long division thing again. 5 going into 400. 5 doesn't go into 4 at all, but 5 goes into 40 8 times evenly. And I'm left with no remainder, so I bring that 0 up. So 500ths goes into 4 80 times. I went ahead and grouped my slides video along with this step-in section. So if you don't have your book out, please turn it to page 388, follow along, and make sure that you rewatch parts of this as you need to. So decimal fractions, adjusting the dividend and divisor. So what strategy would you use to solve this problem? 4 divided by 2/10. And we've learned a lot of different ways that we could do this. We could just say how many 2/10 are there in 1 and take that times 4. We could get a group of like 10 sticks. There's my hundreds frame, but I've got sticks of 10. How many groups of 2/10 are there in that? So this kitty cat says, I know that there are 5 groups of 2/10 in 1 hole. So I need to figure out the number of groups in 4 holes. I must multiply 5 groups by 4, which is 20. And here's another strategy, though. And this is the one that we just started to learn here on a minute ago here. Samara uses a different strategy. He multiplies the dividend and divisor by 10 to make an equivalent expression that is easier to calculate. How does the diagram show his strategy? So we've got 40, or 4 first, divided by 2/10. Well, to change any number, what we want to do is we want to change it so that we have whole numbers that we're dealing with. This is a fraction of number 2/10. If we take that times 10, we're going to be given 2. And if we do it on this side of the division symbol, we have to do it on the left-hand side as well. So 4 times 10 is 40. 40 divided by 2 is then a problem I can do a little bit more simply. How many groups of 2 are there in 40? There are 20. I'm going to ask that you go ahead and complete these, thinking of that same idea. Now this one, look, we're going to take the number 10, and it already has ideas in mind here. You've got 100th. You're going to take 100th times 1 to figure out what your new division problem will be. Don't forget you're going to solve the problem here. And good luck completing all of these. I know you can do it.